I only paint when I'm able to have a conversation with the canvas, it kind of feels like. I wasn't trying to discover myself as an artist. I just wanted to discover myself and do art. When I was 12 years old, I read the whole Bible, like front to back, even though I'm not Christian or anything. I was just really, it was a good story. There's not very many women in that book except for like reproduction and, you're a sinner, you're a temptress. Most indigenous cultures have more exciting stories about women. I started getting really interested in ancient Egyptian spirituality. So my art is one of the goddesses, and she kind of represents balance. She has these different laws that you're supposed to live by if you want to enter into the next realm. There's so much that history does not teach you about kingdoms that are just run by queens. And what did women in power look like? Because today we think that women in power looks like you're in like a bikini and like you make a lot of money. That's being in power.
Namaskar, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, we have Sabah, whom I met at the Isha Yoga Center, and she was actually part of the photo shooting for the Nandi and Adi Yogi collection, and that's how the two of us kind of really met each other. And we've been in touch since then, and I love her art. I love how she expresses herself through that, and we we just finished the podcast, and it was such a beautiful flow of thoughts, and I really enjoyed this. We talked about our experiences of smoking cannabis, taking psychedelic mushrooms, being high on life, and being dependent upon substances. We talked about her new Instagram page, The Cosmic Matriarchy, which goes into the history of goddesses and mother worship. We talked about the state of nothingness, how the relationship between offering, giving, and receiving. And we talked about Devi Seva. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you could just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, how growing up was for you, and then how seeking started.
So I'm from Nairobi in Kenya. Um, and I think there's been many times where I've had, like in my childhood, where I've started wondering what is the purpose of this life. But there was times when like it got so intense that I just really put it out of my mind completely. Like I remember one particular time I was young and I suddenly realized like I'm going to die. Like I was like 12 years old and I asked my dad, I was like, why are we going to die? And he said, everybody's going to die. And then I started crying for like like intensely crying for like some hours and then I just let it go. And then like with my friends, sometimes we would be sitting and like wondering like, are we in like in the brain of a giant? Like what if we're like in the brain of some like big giant?
I had those thoughts too, but I feel like I was influenced by movies.
Maybe, I don't know. Like I think it was just like wondering, like because seeing like how ants are there, like we have
Mm.
brain cells. Like, do the brain cells know that they're in a human? Like, it's stuff like we were just, just thinking about it, and we'd just be like sitting on the grass, looking at the clouds, and just like talking about it. But we kind of got in Kenya. It's kind of common that you start partying at like age 14 years old. So yeah, that kind of took the forefront of my life for several years. And then I left Kenya when I was like 16 or 17, and we moved to the US. And here, I mean, in the US, it was such a different atmosphere. So, like, there was still partying and stuff with other teens, but it was like the environment was like like the relationships people had with each other had a different energy. So it was such a big shock for me. So I had quite a lot of existential crisis, and yeah, things started getting crazy, and yeah, some certain things happened that sort of shook me really off balance, and then I stopped, participating in that kind of lifestyle. Then I was in university, and at first I tried to go to classes and stuff like that, but then pretty quickly I just realized, like, it's just, what's the point? What is the point of this? Like, it seemed so cerebral, and I hated it. It didn't feel like, I remember, like, because I was in an art school, so that's the
Mm,
place it should be not cerebral. And I remember I would do a lot of projects that would be, because we have to always explain and like prove and explain and sort of like analyze everything, like very, very cerebral. And I would do like performance pieces where it was like, I'm a flower that's dying, and I'm like, explain, explain. Some silly stuff that was like rebelling against the way that they were trying to like shape us. And then I started just going to the ocean. So I was in San Francisco. I started just going to the ocean and sitting with the trees and just being by myself. Like one of the most intense years of my life, really, because it was like I don't know. I really changed. Like really realizing that there's something more to life, and I want to have it, and I didn't know where to look, and I looked so many places, and so many different spiritual teachers, and then I dropped out of university. And then that summer, like, I was still looking, and I started smoking weed again because like I couldn't find something that would, you know I just needed something to feel like an escape. So I started smoking weed again, and then a few months later, like I just found Sadhguru all of a sudden. And I remember, like, I was just watching him, and then I clicked on the one about the weed, smoking weed, and I had just ordered some weed. I just ordered the weed, and then I watched that video, and like the guy hadn't yet come or whatever. Then I remember like finishing the video and saying, "I'm finished," and I just texted him like, "I'm done. Don't send." That
really?
was it, and that was the end of it. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a long story. After that, I did all the, I did in engineering that summer. I waited a few months, and I did my initiation with Sadhguru. Like 1 year after that, I did my initiation with Sadhguru in Philadelphia, and then a day later, the next day after initiation, I was on the plane to the ashram, and then I was
Hmm.
there, and that's where I met you.
Yeah, wow, that's like you didn't even have to think about should I go or should I not go. You just like were clear
Yeah.
about it. So when you say you dropped out of art school, but nowadays, you're still participating in it. I mean, behind you, I see those flowers. I remember the project that you did, and
Yeah.
then we see your art on your Instagram as well. So how would you say like dropping out of the college um, changed your perception of art, or how did it develop?
Um, Actually, I had such an interesting experience. Like my roommate and I both, we both just like to paint for the joy of it. Like for us, it's just about, we just wanted to improve our skill so that we can paint things and do things more beautifully. But I found that at the school, it was about trying to form an identity in a way, like your art, you're trying to form an identity with your art, and then you're trying to break out of the identity, and I felt the whole thing seemed really kind of like cyclical. And I mean, I appreciate all art, and I'm not criticizing anybody's art who's there or people who go to art school. I'm just, for me personally, I wasn't trying to like discover myself as an artist. I just wanted to discover myself and do art.
Hmm.
So I didn't feel like it was the place for me. And I actually stopped painting for a really long time after going to art school because I didn't have any joy. It kind of removed the joy of it for me. So I started painting again actually last summer. Like I used to paint a lot when I was a teenager. Like that was for me that was a spiritual experience. And I remember one painting I did where like I really felt like it was alive and it was like guiding me. Like it was really weird, but it was like a face and it was like I would look at it. If I was stressed out, I would look at it and I would feel like I could hear it
Mm.
like in a kind of like giving me advice. Like it's very crazy to say something like that, but it really was. It had that effect on me, and painting had that kind of effect on me. Like I really was able to. Now I understand it that you're able to completely dissolve into the process, and you kind of get some clarity. And yeah, so it was like that. And yeah, I started painting again last summer just for fun. I wanted to. I really like classical styles of like painting from India and Persia and stuff like that. I like the miniature paintings, and I like telling stories. So I just wanted to paint some pictures that like told a little bit of stories, like the one I did of Shiva and Devi, and yeah, stuff like that. I'm a storyteller, so painting is kind of like a way for me um, to share like a vibe that I feel, and I can try to paint it and share it with somebody else.
How did your paintings change once you started to do yoga and meditation? How did the process of painting change?
It's a good question because I hadn't painted for so long before. I can't really remember how it felt like before.
Mm.
But before, I was drunk the whole time. I used to drink a lot of wine when I was painting before. Now I don't. So I'm kind of like, um, I guess, I guess like I'm kind of aware of the magic that goes into it. Like, I before like the one thing that I only paint when I'm able to like have a conversation with the canvas, it kind of feels like. So like I don't paint something that I see in my head. I can have something in my head in the beginning, but the me and the canvas are like having a collaboration. And if it doesn't want to do something, it's not gonna do it. And so I have to like kind of like you know, weave around it and feel and like really it's like feeling like what goes where and it's like I don't know, it's like playing a game or something or improvising. Like it's not it allows me to put myself aside and now after doing the yoga I get to observe that and I get to like understand what's happening more and like I have a student and something really amazing that was happening was like I was just telling her these things like I'm not telling her like this is how you well yeah a little bit of like this is how you blend, this is how you do this, very little. Mostly it's just like you connect with the canvas, like try to feel where you put, try to see like the what possibilities are here and there and like without really giving much instruction, she's painted something that it's like we're like twins. Like we've painted something. It's like she just completely like captured like my style. I guess I don't know what it is, but she's 12 years old and
Wow.
she's amazing. She also does yoga,
Mm.
but like she just did it so like I was just like wow, like if you can do this at 12 years old, what are you gonna do when you get to 18 years
Mm.
old? And it was something like how Sadhguru talks about like um, transmitting. You transmit something.
Mm.
I really felt like that's what happened. Like looking through the screen at her painting, I was like, "Whoa, that looks like I just went and painted something over that."
Wow.
It was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, it
What a
was crazy.
beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was really, 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 really awesome.
That sounds like you're.
Obviously, yeah. I said obviously she has her own style, but like I mean in anything that you learn, you usually take a little bit of essence from your teacher.
Mm.
So I was just blown away. Like it was freaking
Mm.
crazy. Anyway.
It sounds like you're a natural teacher, like you really enjoy teaching. Can you talk about the experience of being a teacher and how that was part of your past as well?
So I don't have a degree, so I don't have a teaching degree, but I've worked with kids for the past like 10 years. Like since I was 15 years old, working with kids has been my jobs, like back to back. Um, I I love working with children. I feel like they totally like we have like such a natural and very honest relationship, and like I they appreciate the fact that I see them as, you know, full human beings, and you know, we I become very good friends with quite a lot of kids, and they trust me, and I trust them because they're so cool. They're so real. I love it. I think, you know, working with kids is something that's so important to me because I've had so many experiences that I see now could have, my life could have, my life really needed like a certain kind of guidance from adult figures that I didn't really have. So um, I just have learned from my own growth, like what is it that children really need, and having to like speak up for myself since I was really young about various different things and try to navigate and, you know, try to navigate as, you know, as a girl and also as a child who like amongst adults who look at children as like, you know, like they're not able to like articulate what they need. um, I became very good at speaking and writing and like arguing. So I just have, in a way, it's like I got a psychology degree also from learning about all these different things like that influenced um, us. And from yoga, also, I learned a lot of things from studying a lot of different things, from observing a lot of different things. And yeah, it's really important to me to figure out how to meet each child and be able to offer them what they need to grow and offer them an environment they need to grow, and watch how certain kids who have different kind of trouble, I watch when their parents come to pick them up. I'm really paying attention, like how do they interact, who is this person, like how's this parent within themselves, and I really see there's such a big influence on the child how the parent is, and I pick up on all these things. And so that's kind of the reason why one of the projects we're working on is we want to build like a school in Kenya. And we just want to have it not so much for the education purpose, though we want to be able to eventually offer like really good education that they can, you know, have access to a future that they want, but that they have a space that's really like catered toward like nourishing the curiosity, the joy, um, the intelligence that they have. And so, yeah, and we've just been kind of brainstorming and putting together a lot of different things, and that's one of the things we're working on.
What's your role in that? Do you want to be there and teach there,
Um,
or you're not sure?
yeah, I have no idea. It's
Mm,
one of those things that's too far ahead for me to know that. I just
mm,
want to establish it and then see what comes next.
mm. Yeah, I love that. But I've seen that you are raising funds for it as well. So I will link it in the video description. So if anybody feels like they want to support you in this vision, they can do it.
That would be awesome, yeah. So in this summer, what we're going to do is we're going to do a mobile feeding program. So we'll be going to the public schools that are already established, and we'll be like offering like really nice, you know, we'll be offering meals, we'll be offering you know, art activities, sports. You know, we have our team has like such a diverse group of people. We have artists, we have you know, sports people like physical trainers, we have um, you know, musicians, we have even there's a yoga teacher who was teaching at the Uganda school, Sadhguru's Uganda school, who's joining our team now. And so we'll be able to offer yoga, we'll be able to, do all these things. So this summer we're just gonna like because we don't have the space, we call it keep it pay on the move, and we're just going to like see where we're able to have these like gift offerings and to collect data and to find out like how many kids we're going to be serving and the exact details so that we can start the serious crackdown on the work
Mm.
next.
I can really relate to what you're saying because I started to work in a kindergarten, and actually in my past I've worked in like multiple kindergartens, and I always see kids saying things like they want to draw something, but then they sit down to draw and they're like, I can't draw, like I don't know how to draw, and I'm like, somebody had like somebody told you that you can't draw, that's why you can't draw, it's not that you can't draw, you just feel like whatever you draw is not good enough. And so I
Mhm.
feel like we can change how they feel about them by them trying, at least trying it out. And so I've seen a lot of um, kids kind of open up to things just by, well, why don't you try it out? So I love the work that you're doing in this direction. It's so important.
Yeah, we just want to have a space because it's for the local kids, and a lot of kids are not in school, and there's an issue with in this particular area because it's like a tourist hub, and people usually who go there, they get wasted basically for the holidays or whatever. Um, we just want to have a space where kids, you know, particularly local kids in that area, once they reach a certain age, there's kind of like an unfortunate reality of hard drug use, and we just want to be able to intervene and to offer another option and to offer not just education and like music and arts and sports and things like that free of cost. We want to also have like support systems so that we can offer help for like starting sustainable businesses, small businesses, like have all the things that they might need so that they can basically help their own community. We don't want just to be giving charity. We want to have a space that can be a place for transformation on all levels. We definitely want to have the yoga because that's just so important for somebody's development. And we also just want to be able to support them into creating their dreams and seeing that it's possible no matter what. So the first things first is that we do this, and then we can we can also help them to do their dream.
Mm.
Yeah.
You talked about storytelling, that you love storytelling, and I remember you were speaking about an idea of writing a book. So where did that start? Was it writing a diary in your childhood, or um, like I don't know, where did the storytelling start, and where is it going now?
I love storytelling my whole life. I don't know when it began. I just know that even in kindergarten, I was drawing. Like I would draw. I would take a piece of paper and like, oh, sorry. I would like take a piece of paper like this, and on the bottom you'd see a bunch of little characters, and then I would get a new paper
Ah,
and I would like scribble like what's going on in the picture, and like have all these stories. Like I wrote stories like my whole childhood. Like I was obsessed, and I really really loved writing. And even my teachers thought it was like really good. I'm not trying to say I'm really good. I'm not. But at that time, because I did it all the time, I was pretty good for my age. Then I went to high school, and then like creative writing became again. It just the joy somehow got sucked out of it. Maybe the
mhm,
grading, maybe like expectation, like maybe like constantly like fixing. I lost my passion for it, and I wasn't even thinking about it until last Christmas. My mom bought me some. Like one of the things I loved a lot is fantasy books. Like I love fantasy. I loved reading fantasy. I love imagining. So my mom bought me this like a bunch of like kids books, and she was like, "For you should read it, and then you can write one by yourself." And I was like, "Eh." And then I was just looking, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I kind of want to read a fantasy. She didn't buy me a fantasy book, but then I went and I bought this book called Children of Blood and Bones, and like it's kind of like this. It's this like magic, like young adult like magic fantasy, whatever, based on the Yoruba culture, which is like gods and goddesses, and it's
Mm.
really of Nigeria. So like it was really exciting because I haven't read something like that. So I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, and I kind of got back into like the passion, and I started reading a lot, and then I started um, a friend of mine had told me this like one little fact about a particular goddess like in Arabia, and then after, like a few months later, like when I was reading the book, like the thought came back again, and this whole story like started like coming up, like this whole story. So I started writing it down, scribbling it down, and I've been working on it since last December. And I finished the first draft. Now I'm just like editing, which will take a long time.
Take your time. That's the process, but it's wonderful. And when you talk about the goddess, you know, it's you are establishing something else, which is going in that direction, and you know, telling about the history of goddesses and mother worship. Yeah, please talk a little bit about the Instagram page and the vision that you have.
Yeah. So I like history and mythology and all those kind of things. Like history, art, and English were the only subjects. English, when I say English, I mean like creative writing. Those are the three things I only liked in school. So history, because I don't know, it's I love to learn about how cultures used to be and how events that happened that shaped the world. And I've been always interested in, like when I was 12 years old, I read the whole Bible like front to back, even though I'm not Christian or anything. I was just really, it was a good story. So so I read it. And I was just kind of interested, like there's not very many women in that book except for like
Mm.
reproduction and you're a sinner, you're a temptress. Those are the only kind of mentions of women, like the good obedient women who obeyed the prophet, blah, 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 who obeyed
Mm.
Abraham, who obeyed whatever. And I was just interested in that. And like as I got older, like I mean I used to have a book on Adam and Eve and everything. My background on one side is Muslim, and they also have the Adam and Eve story. And I just always, that story always came back in my mind, and I'd always read the book. Like, why was God so mean? Like, how are they supposed to know? Yeah, okay, yeah, fine, they made a mistake. Like, why would he have the tree there if they're not, if it's really that bad that they eat it? He's God. Can't he like make like a wall? Or, I don't know, something like. It was just always these questions coming up, like, what? This doesn't really make any sense. And then yeah, I started learning about all the different cultures, like all the different myths and legends, and most indigenous cultures have more exciting stories about women. Like in Native America, there's like the spider who, like, she's the grandmother spider. And there's all kinds of really interesting, like, stories, including women, and including really interesting stuff,
I
basically.
want to add something to this. You know, I started to observe spiders at some point in my life, and I was like, uh, all my life I was so scared of that. Like not scared, but I was like, I don't want them in my room. And then I like once I started to pay attention to them, I was like, wow, these are amazing creatures. You know, they're building their own web and they're living in this. And then I looked it up and I saw they are one of the few creatures where, or you know, insects where the female is bigger than the male, and the female is one that is eating the male. And I was like, wow, nature is not like putting the male on top of everything. No, there's balance in everything, and it was so beautiful. Since then, I look at them so differently.
Yeah, that's something that I really find. I love to see, the roles in nature of men, like male and female, is so interesting because in for humans, for the past few centuries, women have been told like we have to impress men, we have to please men all the time. So like we're always the ones who have to, you know, catch the attention or whatever. But in the natural world, it's like the women are just chilling, and the men are like putting on these huge shows,
Yeah, the peacock.
like huge shows and like big dynamic. So I find it so funny. Yeah, and like so learning about all these different things and seeing how like one of the things that happened to me during that year in college was that I started getting really interested in like ancient Egyptian spirituality, and I found like a community. It was with this woman called Queen Afua, and like she does like basically womb healing, like womb circles, like where women come together and we basically there was all these different like the laws of Ma'at are basically covered, but like so Ma'at is one of the goddesses, and she kind of represents balance, and she has these different laws that you're supposed to live by if you want to enter into the next realm, like you know I wouldn't say heaven, but I would say you know the next level of your evolution or whatever. So yeah, so it was really interesting. So there's all these different things you can do, which we do in yoga, like our diet, like waking up at certain time of the day, like having these cultivating certain kind of thoughts, establishing the right kind of relationships, honoring yourself, creativity, dancing, yoga, all these kind of things. And so that was like my first introduction into like goddess culture, like myself, like getting to, be in an environment that was like female centered, and that was, learning about a culture where goddesses influenced the civilization. And so that was really interesting for me. And um, yeah, like I was really interested in this, and it kind of rekindled my like curiosity about goddesses, and I started learning about other cultures' goddesses. And recently a few things have been happening where I've been just noticing that it's kind of like a lot of misconception about what does it mean to be empowered as a female. So I find that a lot of the current narratives are based on these misconceptions are based on like a historical pattern of like misunderstanding, um, you know, what it means to be a woman or whatever, what it means to be healthy as a woman, what it means to be liberated as a woman. So many misconceptions about this, distortions based on the influences that we are always being bombarded with, the media, music, the entertainment industry. So I wanted to revisit this, the history of the matriarchy, so I can basically share about what did women in power look like, because today we think that women in power looks like you're in like a bikini and like you make a lot of money.
Mm.
That's being in power, and I don't think that's being in power. So I wanted to really like inspire like what does it mean to be a queen, like not just be a queen because you wear a lot of makeup and like you look really good, like no, I want something substance. So that's why I wanted to learn, and I wanted to share, and I've been learning like some really like epic things. There's so much that history does not teach you about, like this empresses and like 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 kingdoms that are just run by queens, and like they were like super like powerful, and but we don't learn about it in history. It's like no mention, just
Ah,
crickets. There's so much like this, and so
mm.
I wanted to be a source of like an educational source about these things. So I've been taking time, and I also wanted to have the opportunity to paint these stories because I really think it's awesome. So I'm trying to keep up with it and to paint these different stories, and hopefully to share as frequently as possible. And I think that people will be really excited because like these some of these stories are so interesting. Like for example, I'll just say one really quick one, but it's like I just learned the other day about this like um, this empire run by women in South Africa, and they're called the Rain Queens. And apparently, Marvel did like a comic book about the first queen or whatever. I have to find out the name because I read it very briefly, but apparently these women had the ability to like make rain fall, and they were like really respected, like by even like male like the kings and emperors and all that. Like they were really respected, like they would come to them for like a blessing and everything like this because these women were so powerful. So this is just something that is so exciting, and so that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this page.
Hmm. So at the cosmic matronage, that's where
Yeah,
people can find
you gave me that name. I was like trying to find out a good name, and then I was giving Stephen a list of names, and I don't know where you came out with that idea from, but that was epic.
me and my friend, we so when I came back from the ashram, at some point, like I actually almost a year later, when you came back from Samyama, that was when I kind of started to spiritual shop. I was just like watching a lot of videos, and I wanted to figure out everything with my mind. I just wanted logic, even though in so many ways I knew that this is not how I will find anything. This is just how I will get caught up. This is how I will get distracted. This is how I will um, make a conclusion and therefore stop seeking. And so you reminded me of the importance of Devi, and so I started to connect to her again by lighting her lamp, chanting the stuti, and whatever was available. And so slowly things were starting to happen. Like I would say, I would call them representations of the divine feminine came into my life. Like different different women came into my life that uh, I learned so much from them. And again, just by like getting in touch with Devi, or doing my best to be on, because she's on always. So just like trying to be on. And since I've been doing that, things have changed miraculously in so many ways. And so this idea of the male being the supreme, or the male being something higher or better, um, I would say, since I watched Sadhguru, that was kind of a way. Before, I always thought, women, at some point I was just like, they're just like an award. Like you're showing your friends a picture of a girl, and they're like approving it. They're like, oh yeah, she's hot and this and that. And everybody was just like, this is normal. And now when I look at it, I'm like, even if I see a beautiful woman on the street, I would never say something like, "Oh my God," I would sleep with her. And I use like, me and my friends, we would be like, we thought this is normal, like calling out on women. And I don't know, even in society, even nowadays, when I work at different, I worked a lot at a lot of events, different events, and so I saw the behavior of males. It was disgusting, but everybody else around it was just like, okay, fine. And so I feel like what you're doing is just like exactly what is needed, for people to become aware of the significance and power of the female. So yeah.
That's awesome that you have had that kind of change. That's exactly what all men should have. And this is one of the things that was taken away when the matriarchies fell. Like most people think like one. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit of a funny thing. So I'm reading this about like Aboriginal traditions, and I just posted a little bit about male rites of passage, which I think are very important for men. But one of the things that was funny was like there was a situation where in the book the people who were like living with the community, and uh, apparently there was like a sacred word that was just for males to to use, and like so the word was said, and the guest was like, what does this mean, like and then he asked the woman who speaks English, and the woman was like she was like, women can't even say it, it's so sacred. And then the apparently one of the elders, the male elders, was like, yeah, like really feeling good about himself. And then later on, like the next day, they were like walking through the forest with the women only, and like something happened, like she stepped on a rock or something, and she started just cursing with that word. Like she, but basically the point was that like the women really understand and support, like they understand the male like psyche. And
Mm,
it was really interesting like um, how it's kind of like how we see in India, there's the the linga is always in the like the symbolism of the womb. And even though the womb by itself is not standing up like in the forefront of everything, without it, like there's no it creates the necessary foundation for anything of value to happen, so it doesn't need to be like on the front page, it doesn't need to have all the attention, but it creates the ambience for everything of worth to happen. So in this particular culture, it's like the women are kind of like just creating a space, they create a space the whole time. And like they, even if the man like thinks he is superior, he thinks he's the chief or whatever, it's like, the women are fine, you think that, as long as we are able to
mm,
shape and basically we are the ones who, I mean, not we, but they, like the women are the ones who mold these rites of passage based on their ability to understand the male and the male psyche and what the male needs in order to grow into conscientious. Uh, conscientious is not the right word, but a positive and like really impactful and balanced and grounded human being who serves life, who serves the planet, who serves his community.
mm,
And I found it so interesting. So I'm definitely going to be finding out more information about this because, I think that we can't expect things to get better for women unless we start to change the way that males are raised. That's definitely important, and I know I posted that, and some people were kind of annoyed at, like, why do we have to always take care of men? And I'm like, well, if we don't take care of them, it's if we don't take care of them, we also don't take care of ourselves. That's how human beings are, like we really are interlinked. So it's kind of like, I just want a space to present an alternate way of living, an alternate way of society, um, to function that is for the best interest of everyone. And it's not about women having power. It's or men having power. It's about creating a society where we get to function at our highest. So that's the purpose of.
mm, mm. Beautiful. I would love to get your experience of being with Devi, and I think you also did Devi Seva, right?
Yeah.
So if you could talk about that, because yeah, like I shared with you, you kind of reminded me of the significance of her. Even though I had the goodie and everything, I really didn't make the effort to connect, and so mm, like I shared, So would love to know your experience.
Sure. So Devi Seva was like the first thing I did when I got to India. So I was doing volunteering, and I did 3 days of being in the kitchen, like my first 3 days of being in India. or being in picture. And then I was put into the Devi temple. And I remember like there was just, it was such a small group, and it was like, I guess it was the men's turn, but there wasn't enough men. So a few old ladies were joining them, like, yeah, just like two old ladies, and only one or two people spoke English from the group. And I felt so like blissed out, like volunteering with them. I was just like, this is the most beautiful thing in the whole world. And so I was like, I have to sign up for the next, Devi Seva. And it was happening in like 2 days. So I signed up for the ladies' Devi Seva, and it was like, I don't know, like 12 ladies. It was not it was not the same as how it was when I was just chilling with the two people. It was crazy. It was very intense, a very intense experience. Really exciting. Like I feel like, the women and the men who do the Devi Seva, like their experiences are always different. I've noticed that women who do Devi Seva tend to go on this roller coasters of emotion. Like we like have fights with each other. We're like crying sometimes. Like, it's such we're like so, like we're just like so. And men, I noticed that they tend to get more mature and more peaceful, and like, they just become so, but women are just, we just like on this roller coaster. So it was really funny. It was really exciting. Yeah, definitely intense. And yeah, it was just amazing. Like I just felt like I could just be with Devi, forever. But I started to connect with Devi before I even went to the ashram. So before I found Sadhguru, like when I used to do like vision board stuff, and I had this, I like posted a picture of this like woman wearing like long red, capes and all that, and I just felt like, and some like images of Shakti and everything. I didn't know much about, Devi and the Indian goddesses, but I had briefly started listening to this Durga mantra before things started to get crazy in my life, like a few years prior to that. So I definitely think it had something to do with it. Like it just shattered everything, and like broke apart the whole structure of my life, and something new came out of it. But essentially, I was connecting with her, and I was wishing that I can really connect with the mother of creation. Like that was my really strong wish. And so I found Sadhguru, and I started watching, like the consecration of Devi and all this before I got initiated, before I went. And I was listening to the chants, and I just felt so magical when I would listen to it, and when I'd watch it, I just felt so excited, like about, it was just so exciting. So yeah, when I went there, I felt that I already had uh, connected with her because I had her picture, I had a lamp before I went to India. And when I went to India, I realized that I had been connecting with her because the energy had been in my space. Like the energy that I felt with her, I had already been feeling like in my space. So that was really cool, interesting. And a number of different things also happened that showed me that she was like helping me, like even on the journey from the US to India. A number of things happened, and it was very clear for me that she was kind of with me. And yeah, I feel like when I'm with her, it's sometimes it's very intense, and it's difficult. Like within myself, stuff comes up, a lot of emotional stuff comes up. Other times it's blissful, like it's extremely blissful. It's absolutely stunning. She's so intoxicating and overpowering. Like she just kind of feels, even if I don't stay on the sadhana, um, it's kind of like she's just always, it's like she's just become such a much a part of myself um that I don't anymore know any, like the I know she's, I know there's a difference, but I also don't know there's a difference. It's kind of hard to explain it. Like she's just like become a part of my consciousness. So I can't really, I don't know how to.
Mm.
explain it better, but essentially, I don't know. Like I'm not the same person that I was before her, and um, at the same time, it's not like there's somebody in my head that's like I'm over here. It's just my intelligence has changed, and Sadhguru talked about it in the last darshan also. Like something just happened. It feels like maybe she thwacked my head or something,
Mm.
and things have changed. Yeah, I guess that's it. But I'll share one little wonderful thing that happened to me that was really special was during Navratri in the Isha Yoga Center in 2018. Um, I it was the Lakshmi Puja day, and I remember like it was such a happy day. Like we were laughing so much. Like me and the girls who were with us, like going for the event. And I remember like afterwards, like in the music, I was just sitting and listening to the music, and I actually felt the sensation that like I'm sitting on her lap, like physically felt the sensation that I'm sitting on somebody's lap and they're rocking me like back and forth. It was really crazy. It was really, 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 really awesome. She's just, she's the best. I'm talking a lot, I realize.
Oh, what a beautiful experience. It's wow. I don't know what to say. But worshiping the female um, is something that I feel humans have been doing for a long time. But I don't know nowadays. Like when I look around here, I guess it's probably because of the patriarchal religions, right? Like Christianity and even Muslim people. I don't know. I feel like I was asked about this ring, and I told them like basically it's a balance between masculine and feminine, and they looked at me and they were like, "Are you an atheist?" I was like, "What? A balance between feminine and masculine means you are an atheist?" Wow, you know. So yeah, it feels so important to me though. I don't know. It's just yeah. I mean, you can easily get lost, I feel as well, like asking for a lot of things. I feel like in India, um, certain people that are there who who are always looking for what they're receiving, instead of for what you're offering, for what you're giving. Um, could you share your perspective on that? Like the state of nothing being freedom, not like not wishing for anything, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think I have a problem my whole life. Like asking for things from people has always given me like I kind of tense up. Like I don't like it. Even like when you're like, I'll post the link for the money below. It's like I didn't even like to ask for money for this project. And that's something that we also have to learn how to do is to also receive. But when it comes to giving, I love to give things, giving like since I was young, like I just give I buy clothes in the summer holidays. Or my mom buys me clothes and then my friends come to my house and I just suddenly feel like giving them all my
Mm,
clothes. Like you would look good in this, you would look good in this. There's such a joy in there's such a joy in giving something to someone and making their life a little bit better or making them feel happy. Like this it's just so much more exciting than actually getting something for yourself
mm,
because once you get something it's a dead end. When
mm,
you give something it has you get to see them happy. First of all, you get to see something good happening to someone else, and you actually experience what they're getting but even more magnified. So when it comes to offering something to the deities, it's just like when you are asking for something, like you actually block off receiving. I don't know how.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Like when
that
you're
makes
giving,
sense. If
yeah,
you
when
if you
you're
want
giving,
something, then you're kind of putting it in a box, like this is what I want, like a Santa, like writing down this is what I want, this is what I want, but you're kind of closing down the possibilities of beyond, what's beyond that, what you want.
You don't even get to feel it. Like you because when we're asking for something particular, we are asking for an experience. We're not actually asking for the thing. So we
Mm.
we might get that thing, but we might feel unfulfilled because it's a certain feeling that we're looking for. We're not looking for something that's material. So when you're offering something, I find that you you're sharing a feeling. You're not giving a thing, you're sharing a feeling. So by sharing the feeling, by sharing the offering, like it kind of makes it easier when you're offering something physical, but you don't have to. Like Sadhguru says, it's not about what you give, it's about how you give it. When you're offering something, you are actually feeling what it is you're looking for. You're giving something of yourself that you feel is special and wonderful and important, and that energy floods you. So it's kind of like if you want to receive, you have to give that energy. And that's kind of like you've talked about law of attraction and everything like that. um, it's kind of, I think that's what it is. I don't feel very comfortable asking her for things. Like I ask her, I do explain, I do like talk to her, and I say like this is what I'm going through and this is what I really need. But I I I just, it's more like I'm asking for the ability to um, connect with it, what I want, and myself. I just want to grow so that I can receive whatever it is that I feel will help me to, in terms of material life, like help me to um, be able to have more impact, be able to,
Mm.
um, you know, continue this path without obstacles. Because most important is that I'm growing as a human being. I don't feel there's any value in trying to get anything. I've had the privilege of having a lot of things in my life, more than what most people in the world have. And none of those things really made me feel happy. But what makes me feel happy um, is opening up to life and opening up to the subtler dimensions of life. So I want that the material aspect of life is handled, so that I can continue to do this and to help to make it happen for other people. So when I do ask for things, it's on that context.
Mm.
A lot of people still asking for the material things, and there's such a heaviness to that, that you don't have when you're giving, when you're offering, and when you're sharing. And even when I share, like for example, apart from the school we're doing, I'm also working with one particular group of Maasai women. So this was kind of a spontaneous thing that suddenly happened. My friend was like, "Can you donate to the Manyatas?" He's Maasai, and I was like, "Sure, I can do that." But then the idea just came in my mind, like, how about you start a business, an online business, and I will do all the technical stuff and help you to do all these things, and I will help to sell it out, for nothing. I don't want anything, but I just want to be able to help and teach and share, like so that the women can support their own manyatas like
Mm.
by themselves. They're not relying on anybody for the money, so that they can create a new opportunity, because usually they depend on tourism and that's not happening. So I said, online is good. Like they make beautiful things, beautiful jewelry,
Mm.
and it's really cool if the women can have their own business and watch it expand. So that's what we're doing. And wait, let me try to remember what the point of my saying this was. I kind of forgot. I forgot. But anyway, essentially, it feels good to give, and not give material, like not, somebody wants a present, here's your present. It's like you share something that has a little bit more value, that can last a little bit longer for somebody in their life.
You made
So
a great point actually for law of attraction, even to stop asking for something specific like I want this new phone or something, but to rather say things like, I want to connect to more people. I want to have a larger reach. I want to take like beautiful pictures of wherever I go. I like instead of going for I want iPhone da 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 da, to really see why do you want it, like because the feeling is much more important than the object, because the feeling is what will get you there, what will get you whatever it is that you want. So really, really good point, actually. Yeah. And then I would say from my side, the last thing that I would love to talk about is sobriety, because we feel like you shared being drunk on Devi, being drunk on yoga, on meditation, and nowadays it's even proved by, backed up by science, that if you do the practices, you're basically high. So yeah, I feel like there is a certain escapism in society, and if that's through the phone, if that's through the television, and many times through drinking and all these things. So yeah, if you could talk about that.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, I went through Alcoholics Anonymous and all that kind of stuff, you know. I don't, a lot of people will disagree with me if I say this, especially people who are struggling. I don't believe that there's such a thing as like you're born. One thing you learn in Alcoholics Anonymous is that there are a certain group of people that are born as addicts, or like, you know, and that's what you're taught, and you're like, this is why you have to always be, you know, you're always recovering, you know. And I also did that whole process, and I have to say I disagree now, um, because once you learn that you're just looking to expand yourself, you're just looking to experience things more intensely, more deeply.
Mm,
um, when you realize this, and you have an outlet, or you have a way that is actually transforming you and actually deepening your life, you don't need those things anymore. You know, like I used to love, you know, partying on the weekends and whatever. Like I used to I and then I started to, like, at first it was just on the weekends, but then I started to drink and smoke and all that by myself all the time, and and you could look at me and say I was an addict. It just was a short few years, but still, like, you could have looked at me, and people did, and they said like, um, "Oh, you must be addicted." Da, da, da. And I went through the whole thing, like saying, "I'm an alcoholic. My name is Seva. I'm an alcoholic. This is my story." Da, da, da. But I don't believe that's the case. I think that people just don't have um, something that brings them more joy. Like, now when I look back, like, a lot of people, like, they continue to drink and they think like my life is so boring because I'm sober. And I just look back and I just think like, wow, your life must be so boring. Like, there's nothing new. You get wasted, and you get wasted again, and it actually gets worse and worse, slowly by slowly. Like, there's
mm,
never anything changes. Nothing more exciting ever happens. Like, you either need to look for new people to sort of catch your interest or like excite you, like when you're drunk, like, or something, or be more stupid or be more reckless, or um, it just doesn't actually take you anywhere. And I remember, like, I started realizing this when I was younger. Like, I would go to when I first started going to parties and dancing, I would just love it. It was like, wow, this is so new and exciting. I have no cares in the world. After some time, it was just like, I remember I would be like at a party and I'd be like dancing, and all of a sudden I would just suddenly stop and just be like, what the hell? This is so
mm.
boring. And I would just go home immediately. I would ditch everyone. Like, I'd come with a whole bunch of people, and all of a sudden I would just like, there's actually one photo, an old photo of me just like in a group of people, and I'm just like just like standing like a ghost. Like, and I looked at that picture, it's like, yeah, that was the moment when I decided I would
Mm,
like to go home and watch Pirates of the Caribbean or something. Just like, it was just so boring after a certain point.
mm,
So it would be awesome if more people could realize this quicker. Unfortunately, with the entertainment industry, you know, the
Mm.
alcohol industries and basically drug culture peddled through, blockbuster films and music videos and all these things. They're always trying to make this lifestyle look glamorous and look
Mm.
exciting and look powerful and look like, this is what people who have no, this is what people who are like on the edge and living life do. And it's like, actually, not, not at
That is
all.
so true. It's so true, actually. Like even in like successful people, they have the whiskey at the end of the day,
Yeah,
tossing on together. Lawyers and like rich people, and then you get your like a big car, and then within the car there's like the perfect place to put your whiskey in, and it's so crazy actually if you like how it's like a program, like a
it is.
matrix.
They depend on each other. Like the industries pay each other and
Mm,
they communicate with each other because they want to keep this illusion going that you make something more of yourself if you have XYZ. Sometimes I look at people like I'm somebody I like when people wear like nice quality things or like if you see like a nice shirt or whatever, it's not important to me, but I can appreciate it. I appreciate aesthetic. However, when I see someone wearing clothes as though it enhances them, I can only laugh at them. Like when I see people wearing fancy things and expensive things as though it
mm,
somehow makes them more, like I'm just like, this is
mm,
really awkward because you're not more. It looks like, how to explain it? Like you're a child wearing your mom's clothes and
mm,
pretending to be your mom. Like it kind of just has that energy of like you're wearing something too big for you. Like, I mean, it's like, how do I even explain this in a way that, like, in my feeling, it's just such a strange thing to see. Like, just start watching people who wear fancy hats and this and that, and it's like they're just repeating what the people before them
mm,
wore when they were cool, and it's like these people may have been cool because of what they had to offer to the world, not because of what they had, what they were wearing.
mm,
Maybe they were wearing those things because they had the money to and because they enjoyed it or whatever, but it's not what made them special.
mhm,
What made them special was, be it their art that they, something of themselves, something that came from within is what enhanced them and made them available to the world in the way that they were. Like,
mm,
uh, I, I don't know how to put this in a way, but I'm just thinking of like trends of fashion and even movies. Like everything is like something was successful, like let's say somebody started, where like had an amazing film and everything was like kind of like pastel colors and sort of retro vibe. Now everybody in the world is doing this whole thing, and it's like
mm,
the point wasn't that it was the retro thing or whatever. The point was that it was like the movie connected with you or the story connected with you or the music connected with you in some way. um, Find what it is that is within you that you can share with people that's wonderful and special, not how to make other people see you as special. That's the problem. That has nothing to do with the drugs and alcohol, I guess, but anyway, in terms of like how they sell these things to people.
mm,
um yeah, and it would be nice if a lot more young people start to realize this sooner, um, because I know so many people I grew up with was so cool and so smart and so funny, and so they still are, but I can see that like it's having an effect on them. You know, it's having an effect on them. They're not fully alive. They're not the way that they were when they were kids, and that
mm,
doesn't have to end. That doesn't have to, that spark and that um, excitement and that aliveness. It doesn't have to end when you start hitting a certain age. And some of the most craziest, funniest, awesomest, randomest people that I grew up with are now really in a box. And it's really sad for me to see. So, I hope that more of us can start living a life where, we get high on life, and we get high on these energies that come from within ourselves. Um, because that would just be so amazing to see if that swept the world instead of mind numbing, body destroying chemicals.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
sorry, I don't know if I answered your question because I
Yes,
kind of want to.
absolutely. No, Sadhguru said, definitely there is a way with alcohol, there's a way with cannabis that like it's possible for you, but it's not the most efficient way. And out of, I don't know, thousands of people that do it, maybe one person will, reach a certain level of intensity. Um, but most people will drown. And so yoga is a science, is a system that it just works because it's a science. So why not make use of something that works 100% if if it's out there, if it's available.
I have a funny story actually of so as you said, like Sadhguru said that it can work for a certain some people. But most people are not doing these things for that purpose.
Mm,
So it's definitely not going to work. They're trying to run away from their inner fear. They're trying to entertain themselves. They're trying to avoid, the feeling that all of us have that there's something more and I'm missing it and I don't know what it is. It's such a nagging feeling. And that is the feeling that everyone uses to escape. And that's something that I'm pretty sure about. Like when you're a kid, you don't even consider using drugs. You don't need it. It doesn't even cross your mind. Only once you start going through a certain level of, you know, certain amount of conditioning and you've been sort of suppressed in some ways, do you start looking for some way to escape yourself.
mm,
And that's when the desire starts to arise, and that depends on many different things. But when I was younger, I started to experiment or whatever, just a few times, not even that much. I tried the magic mushrooms. And at one time, I had this experience where I was like at a festival, and I remember um, heard this really incredible voice like singing this amazing sound. It was like mind blowing. It was like I don't even know. It was like shook my whole bones. And I was looking. I looked and I saw like on this stage there was like this blue man with dreadlocks, like shaking his dreadlocks and singing. And I was literally shattered in tears. Like I kept on stopping and like, do you hear that? I was like free. It was so incredible. And that for me was like that was that and the first time I ever took mushrooms was like I felt like I saw nature in such a magical
mm,
way. And
mm,
I those two experiences was the point where I was like, there's something else here, there's something more to life,
mm,
there's something more. This is what I need. And that was like the step. Your original question was like, what was your step? I think that was my step. Like, so for some people there is a purpose, but the problem is that people don't have the guts to get off that substance when they've seen that what they're looking for is something deeper. They don't get off the substance, they just keep taking it, and then they'll never achieve it. In fact, they'll destroy any possibility because their body will be completely frazzled, unless they do some extreme self-care, years of like getting themselves back into a place of health and wellness, which is what happened to me after, like, starting from when I went to university. Like that was like because of that experience, I was seeking, and then I aligned with, getting sober and eating greens and eating more raw foods. And, for a while I only ate raw foods, and basically I was step by step, like getting the health back into my body so that I could find somebody like Sadhguru and be able to receive it.
mm,
Um, but definitely, I remember there was getting to a point where I would smoke weed or something, and I wouldn't feel any high. Like nothing happened to me. Like I was completely I was completely the same person. I would just
Mm,
no change. And Sadhguru says sometimes that can happen. Like people, they drink a lot, but they're still completely aware and the same. And I think that really happened. That happened to me, which is one of the reasons why I didn't see the point of doing it anymore. Because
mm,
what's the point? You're trying to get something out of it. You're trying to feel something else, and um, something in me was just like, I'm ready for something different. So that's my hope, is that people um, can come to this realization sooner, so that they can have a chance of experiencing the magic that many of us have gotten to experience from the yoga, because it's been just so epic, you know. And so it seems like it's for somebody who has no context, like they couldn't imagine how it can be possible that we can feel more high without any substance than they do when they spend like $100 every week just to get, wasted and everything. So this is a free. This is free. We save a lot of money. We get to do other things with our lives.
I share your experience. I had those kind of moments with cannabis when I was like smoking and I was suddenly in the zone. You know, I was like so creative and I was out there in nature hiking. I was appreciating nature much more. Actually, so many things that like I'm grateful for cannabis coming into my life. But the people that I saw around me who were smoking consistently, I was like, somehow when they were talking, when they were speaking, there was no clarity. Their mind was like a clutter, you know, like there were so many pieces everywhere. And like these people were like one of them was like dealing with drugs, like traveling with drugs, and he was just smoking all the time. And and the other was also just smoking so much, so much. And I saw them going through like ups and down, but like when they went down, they were like crashed on the floor, like they were hitting their head against the floor. Like it was so bad. And I looked at them and I was like, I don't want to be like this. Like I don't want to go this path. And I know if I continue smoking, there's like the possibility of me being the same place where they are is like very like almost 100%, you know. And so I was like, similarly like you said with the mushrooms, I had the beautiful experience, but I kind of knew that I don't want to make myself dependent upon a substance to have this kind of experience. And I didn't believe Sadhguru when he said that you can be high on yoga. You know, I was like, maybe you can do this. I can't do this, you know.
Exactly.
I was laughing at him. I was like, this guy is just speaking like he's just talking nonsense. Like, no way. Why would people smoke cannabis? Why would people drink alcohol? Why would people do LSD? Why would like you know now when you look at the, platforms like Gaia, they're like even spreading information
Yeah.
that this is the highest. If you do ayahuasca, you will realize yourself. And then
No.
I traveled to Colombia and I was like surrounded by people that took ayahuasca and I saw them and I looked at them and I thought about doing it, you know, and I like had a conversation with them and I was like, these people, they don't seem like anywhere closer to their truth, their passion than where I am right now,
Mm.
you know? And maybe one person out of, I don't know, 10, 15 people that I talked to was like, had a certain experience and he through that experience he kind of got into his creative side and he started to work with that, but he's not continuing to go back to do ayahuasca, you know. But then
Yeah.
people that I met who were doing it, they were just broken, you know, like I don't know, they didn't inspire me to do it, and so I was like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. I have one more story for you that you just reminded me. So one of the last few times I ever smoked weed, I remember I had been sober for a while, and I'd gone to this like event, and this is relevant because of the I also had an experience like you when I suddenly saw that nobody had clarity. But basically, I used to like to like we used to hang out with like my friends, and we would do a lot of freestyle rapping and stuff like that. And I remember we went to this group of like we were at this museum, and there was some kind of party, and like we went to the DJ's house, and we were all just like sitting around, just a chill thing, just sitting. They would play some beats, and we would just start rapping like around the circle. And I remember like I was into it like before I smoked the weed, and then as soon as I smoked the weed, I suddenly was like, it was like somebody had like, you know those film reels where the old film reels where you
Mm.
see little boxes. It was like somebody had pulled me. It was like we were in one of those little boxes, and somebody just pulled me out of that box, and I suddenly saw like we're living so small, like we're just like so obsessed with like all these tiny little things happening in our little world, and we think it's so important, but it's really not important. And I remember hearing them, and I it was like so strange. It was like they were rapping and they were all around me. They were like, yeah, yeah. But they sounded like cavemen. Like
Mm.
they sounded like old, like we were like almost like beating sticks against rocks and thinking that it's really cool. You know?
Yes, yes, yes,
Like
yes.
that. I literally, it was like I was looking at them like, oh my gosh, like how do we think that this is cool at all? Like it hit me that we are capable of so much more.
Mm.
So I don't know for what reason it was, but I just felt this strong feeling like, oh my God, we are so complex, and we're doing this stupid thing. Like doing such stupid things,
Mm.
and we're all cheering for it. And I got such a sick feeling. I was like, oh my God, like I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be free. That was a very intense moment for me where I wanted to free my intelligence, like my I wanted to free my consciousness. Like I didn't know it in the way that I'm saying it now, but I had a very strong desire. Like I need to get out of this way of life, and that was another
Mm.
experience for me because of the substances. But it definitely, I do not recommend other people use it so that they can have those feelings of
Mm.
suddenly wanting to be free. I don't recommend it because it takes a lot of strength. Once you start doing these things, it takes a lot of strength, especially if you've built a lifestyle, if you have a group of peers and they all do this.
Mm.
Like, to pull yourself out of that is one of the most difficult things in the world. It takes a lot of, either you've hit rock bottom and you have no choice, or you really have to want it so bad to change your life. And it's so rare for those circumstances to happen to people. So that's why, starting young, having alternative ways of life available to youth is so important. And that's, again, goes back to why we want to do the school and all that stuff, because
Mm.
we want that to happen for people so they don't have to go through the hell of trying to change when they've already become addicted to something,
Mm.
you know?
Yes, yes. I want to add one thing because I don't want to dismiss the power of plant medicine.
Yeah.
Certain people in our past, they shamans or whatever you want to call them, they were in touch with nature and they knew for what to use these things. Even things like ayahuasca or psychedelic mushrooms. Nature didn't like put it out for no reason. There is a reason for this, but it's a medicine. So this is not something to be abused, not something to be smoked out of like fun or trying to get somewhere to get something. There's a lot of usage for sure for things like cannabis, but nowadays when we know that we can extract CBD and we don't really need to have the THC, which is actually destroying the nerves, the brain cells. If we can, we have so much technology and science that we can figure another way, a different way out. So I don't want to dismiss it to anybody who's listening. I'm not saying it's evil or it's bad or it's the worst thing that you can do, but it's not a solution. It's not the ultimate. So don't settle down for it.
Yeah, it's not necessary. As you said, it's a medicine. That means that you are sick. So if we can avoid being sick, then you don't
Uh,
need a medicine.
yes.
You know, yeah. I think one of the reasons I had those experiences with those things is because I approached it as well as, really respectfully
Mm,
and, um, you know, something of myself was, I don't know, seeking to connect with nature. So that's one of the reasons why, for me, the experience had some kind of a eye-opening effect.
mm,
But once I started to do it more than that, my life hit the fan. Like it really, it like took a like, as you
mm.
said, you saw your friends, that happened to me. So that's the danger of it, is that it really shouldn't be used by the general public, especially in an
Mm,
age when we're having so much mental health crisis. To
mm.
be taking things like this on your own, even just smoking weed and all that kind of stuff, like really, it kind of enslaves you in a way. But again, I completely agree with what you say, and hopefully one day people can know how to use all plant medicine in the right, correct way.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you look at the shamans in the forest, they do like a whole ritual. Like first you need to cleanse yourself. Like first you have to cleanse your body by a certain diet. You do certain practices. You do chanting. You sing together. There's a group of people. There's somebody who's guiding you along the like so many things that are being taken care of. It's not just you sitting down in your home and then just like I don't know, or going to the park, like when I walk around and I see people hiding while smoking, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a medicine. So yeah, I love your perspective on it, and thank you for sharing everything that you did.
Thank you. That was last lot of fun. And sorry if I went on certain topics. And it was actually very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it was wonderful to talk to you. Is there anything else that is on your mind, or otherwise, I feel like it was a very nice flow. I loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I think that's
Uh,
it.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
good. Then thank you for
Thank
joining,
you.
and I hope to see more of your page. I'm excited
Yeah.
for the content on your page.
I'll share.
So
Maybe you can put that in the link also,
yes,
because I think it would be really awesome, especially for women to, um, and men, because it applies to men. Because
mm,
today, sorry, I will just say this one thing. Like
yes,
I don't agree with all forms of well, I don't agree with feminism, both aspects. One is the new kind of feminism that is kind of like we're all the same, da 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 da. The other kind of feminism, which is more like the traditional feminism, which is very much it's what established our rights, which is the wonderful thing. But it also, I have noticed that there is this sort of like there's so much pain within this group of what women have endured. I don't agree with the notion that to go forward that we have to that it means eliminate and exclude the males, because it's just not
mm,
realistic. um, so the reason I wanted to share the thing about the matriarchies and goddess worship is because um, how did this impact the males? And a lot of people think, if it worked so well, why isn't it still around today? Well, that's also what I want to show. How, who, why, when, how were these systems dismantled? Because it
mm,
wasn't just that it didn't work, it was that it was systematically dismantled intentionally over years. So people had to, it was a years of um, changing people's psyches and people's relationship with the earth and with women and with their culture, in order for these civilizations to fall apart. So it, that's also why I wanted to share the pages, is because they aren't not here anymore because they didn't work. They're not here because they were dismantled intentionally. So I want to explain that, and I want to kind of envision through understanding the past, what we can do for tomorrow, and have discussions on the page about how we can start. How can we mingle the old ways with the world that we live in today? Just hear people's thoughts, and from men and from women, and to create, like, how what Sadhguru has done is made us all have one goal, is to spread consciousness. And that's what I also want to do, um, through reorganizing, like envisioning how we can reorganize our societies and interpersonal relationships based on, um, sacred knowledge of the past, and some that is still alive today. um, yeah, and basically just educate people on their country. A lot of people think, like, my country is Muslim, that's how it's always been, or my country is Christian, that's how it's always been. No, it's not. Your country, your ancestors also worshipped the goddesses, and they lived in a certain way, and they were violently stripped away of those ways of life. And how would you feel if you saw this actually happening to your ancestors? Would you still want to be part of a culture, I mean, part of a legacy that did this to people and to women? Like, people don't want to let go of, things like religion and, ways of life, because they feel it connects them with familiarity. But
Mm.
if they knew that, it feels like it connects them to their blood, their history, their ancestors. But it's like, if you really want to connect with your ancestors, you would look even deeper than that, and try to do something with your life that can honor them in the best way. For me, that's getting rid of, the colonizers' legacies, on the planet, and that takes some time, and that takes some education. So that's why I want to do that.
Wonderful. I love it.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Keep it on, keep the vision on, and I'm sure people will love it. I love it.
Thank you.
um, thank you.
Thank you, Nata. Thank you for the awesome name. That name is just so
uh,
rad. I love it.
Feel free to subscribe, like, and share, comment, and we will be very happy to have you join on more Namaskar.